Okay, so welcome back. So I'm going to pick up right where we left off with our right triangle trig refresher video, okay? Because a lot of people are really only familiar with your three basic trig ratios, which are sine, cosine, and tangent, which we just covered, okay? However, there are some more trig ratios that you might not be completely familiar with, okay? And what we call these is the reciprocal identities, okay? Because they are reciprocals of sine, cosine, and tangent, okay? Remember, reciprocal just means you kind of flip the fraction, okay? So we actually have a trig ratio for the reciprocal of sine. So the reciprocal of sine. And the reciprocal of sine is something called cosecant. The reciprocal of sine is called cosecant, okay? And cosecant is shorthanded as CSC. So the cosecant of theta is the reciprocal of sine. Sounds confusing, but it's actually really not, because if sine is opposite over hypotenuse and cosecant is just a reciprocal of sine, that just means cosecant is the hypotenuse over the opposite leg. It's as simple as that, okay? Don't freak out because it's really just a reciprocal, okay? If sine is opposite over hypotenuse and cosecant is a reciprocal of sine, that means that cosecant is hypotenuse over the opposite, okay? And there is also a reciprocal for cosine. The reciprocal of cosine is called secant. It's called secant, okay? And secant is abbreviated as SEC. So secant of theta, well, secant is a reciprocal of cosine, and cosine is the adjacent leg over the hypotenuse, which just means that secant is the hypotenuse over the adjacent leg. Okay? Not that difficult. All right. And tangent also has a reciprocal. The reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. Not very creative, but it is what it is. All right, and cotangent is abbreviated as COT. So cotangent of theta, and I'm sure you kind of guessed it, if cotangent is a reciprocal of tangent and tangent is opposite leg over the adjacent leg, that just means cotangent is the adjacent leg over the opposite leg, okay? And it's as simple as that. So I want us to take a look at our right triangles that we covered in the previous video, and I'm just going to go ahead and quickly go over what the answers to these would be. Okay, we found that sine was 12 over 13, cosine was 5 over 13, and tangent was 12 over 5. What that means is that cosecant would actually end up being 13 over 12. It's just a reciprocal. Just flip it. All right, if you know sine, you should know cosecant, okay? So sine of theta is 12 over 13, which means cosecant is 13 over 12. Now cosine, well, if cosine of theta was 5 over 13. If you know cosine, you should know secant. If cosine is 5 over 13, that means secant is just 13 over 5. It's just a reciprocal. We just flip it, all right? And then tangent, let me get the right color here. Tangent of theta was 12 over 5, which means cotangent was just 5 over 12. Okay, it's as simple as that. All right, and might as well finish it off. Okay, might as well finish it off. Let's do cosecant, secant, and cotangent of this triangle here. If you want to do that now, feel free to. Pause the video. Okay, so cosecant of this particular triangle at this particular angle would be 25 over 24. Secant of theta would be 25 over 7. And cotangent of theta would be 7 over 24. Okay, so those are the reciprocal functions, okay, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. I hope we all understand this. Keep practicing with this. This is going to be very, very important moving forward once we start talking about what's called the unit circle and evaluating trig expressions, and then some of the most fun stuff in the world, trig identities, awesome stuff. So make sure we are practicing with this. Until later, goodbye.